by using video in that business development sense as well, you're able to actually make the prospect or the client or the candidate feel that you want to talk to them.
Welcome to the Tech Savvy Recruiter, the podcast for recruitment and staffing agency owners keen to explore the tech innovations reshaping our industry. I'm Andrew Roger from recMate.
And I'm Belinda from Recruitment Garage, and together we're your hosts, bringing you a stellar lineup of tech experts ready to help you understand and, more importantly, benefit from the increasing array of tech available to you today.
Today we are talking about video for recruitment and staffing professionals. In today's digital age, we're witnessing a lot of revolution in how companies connect with, evaluate and hire new talent. One of the most compelling and dynamic elements in this evolution is the use of video. It's burst onto the scenes as a powerful medium in the recruitment process. Very recently, I might add, after the C word happened, and it's offering a richness of information and personal touch that traditional methods simply can't match. Or is it? And that's what we're here to discuss today. And how exactly is video being used to attract and, vet candidates, ruling them in or ruling them out? Is it just another trend, or is it the future of recruiting that we need to get used to? We're seeing everything from video resumes and job postings to live interviews and company culture showcases. The potential here is enormous. Yet with new technologies come new challenges and also considerations as well. Today, we are aiming to unravel some of these topics with an industry leader who has their finger on the pulse of video recruitment. They're going to share their insights, experiences and predictions as well, helping us understand the real impact of video on recruitment. So whether you're a recruiter looking to modernize your recruitment strategy, or even a job seeker maybe curious about what's on the other side of the screen, so to speak, this episode promotes to shed light on the value, the pitfalls and, the potential that we've got in front of us with video in the hiring process. So grab your headphones and let's press play on the discussion, because here at the Tech Savvy Recruiter, we're not just about keeping up with the present, we're also staying ahead of the curve and gearing up for the future of recruitment. Let's crack in. So today we are very fortunate to have the one and only John Burke from RecView with us. John not only runs RecView, but also a rec-to-rec company called Start in Recruitment. I could continue singing John's praises, but let's hear from the man, the legend himself. Welcome, John. Now, John, can you please give the listeners a bit of background about who you are and what you do, and maybe what you do outside of your RecView and Start in Recruitment life?
Yeah, mate, at the moment there's not a lot outside of work, but one day I'll have hobbies and a social life. So I set up Start in Recruitment 5 years ago, which places salespeople into their first recruitment role. And it was during that time, and the kind of the big C word that you mentioned there, when we were experimenting with video. So it's definitely kind of taken over in the last maybe year as video technology has gotten better, but there's always been clients and agencies, myself included, that have kind of wanted to use it, right? Because at the end of the day, like, everyone always talks about recruiters being human, and that's why AI will never replace us. But then we just send a CV and an email, and it kind of loses that human touch. So we always wanted to show off candidate profiles, because we were transitioning people from a non-recruitment background. We had to show off their transferable skills, their communication skills, their coachability, personality, right? Things like that you can't show on CV. And then the product that we're using, we just didn't love, because like a lot of old video tech, even like the podcast that we're recording this on now is one of the greats in the video space. It just improves with technology, right? So video used to, even if you look at like Netflix and Stan, video used to, you'd have to download the file and then your computer and then upload it in a buffer, and it was just very slow. Whereas now it's all about the streaming services behind it. So I think because of that technology, we've seen a massive increase in video options out there, because it's more accessible, but it's also a lot cheaper, right? The reason that a lot of those previous video rec tech, if you will, or any kind of video didn't work as well, is because it was super expensive, because the hosting behind it was super expensive, because video files are quite large, right? Especially if they're a long interview and high quality. So I think as we've seen kind of streaming services take over the world, the cost of hosting video has dropped significantly, and like the compression and then being able to stream it back. So I think that's why we're seeing a massive trend. But then the second thing, and I talk about this day in, day out, I've used, and you know, Andrew, because you've helped me set up some of them, right? I use every automation tool that's humanly possible, right? Because I love running lean tools, right? But I think why video's taken over is now, like any bit of recruitment tech, now everyone uses it, right? Especially LinkedIn automation tools. Everyone's using them, so everyone gets the same sequence of messages. And even if you insert the company name, it's still like, oh, okay, is this person really trying to reach out to me, or am I on the list of 300 other people? So I think by using video in that business development sense as well, you're able to actually make the prospect or the client or the candidate feel that you want to talk to them. And we find that by even sending little 30-second messages, you're able to convince that person to then get on a call with you, right? Because you've taken the time. They feel sometimes obliged to come back because you've actually given them something of value, rather than, I don't know this person anything. They don't even know me. I'm just in an email sequence. By sending videos, you create that connection, and you also show people that, hey, I'm just a normal person. I know I'm a recruiter, but I'm not the devil. I'm not going to try and do anything horrible or anything like that. You show that you're an actual person that they can get on with, right? Because everyone's had bad experiences with recruiters, but then as soon as they find one they like, they sing your praises. So by using video, you're able to kind of get your personality across in a world where most people consume socially video content now.
So, John,
interesting.
You know, we touched on it a little bit lightly already, but I was just wondering, how does the integration of video enhance the candidate experience during the recruitment process? You know, we did touch on customer experience, and it's a real passion of mine to get that right for your business. So how can it help? Tell us more.
The option's new, and the one good point that you mentioned there is like video is definitely not new. Even all the pushback that we get from clients all the time is, how do I actually get my recruiters using it? And that's probably the hard thing, because people actually do find being on video daunting, right?
Yeah.
So kind of a lot of the video that we do for rec viewers, especially for the BD, we say to everyone, it's 1-to-1, right? So if you're having a conversation with one person and recording one little video to send, it's much less daunting. You don't need the big production behind it as if you're posting that video onto LinkedIn. And there's definitely case for both. We use like highly produced videos for our top of funnel kind of marketing content, people who then come through, and that's kind of where it's a bit daunting. You have lots of goes taking it. You probably write a script. Then for our 1-to-1 messages that we're sending to candidates and clients, we're literally just hitting a button going, hey, this is what we do. I'd love to have a chat with you for X reason. And people find that a little bit more comfortable because, hey, probably only one person's going to see this, hopefully, right?
Could you explain how video has transformed the recruitment process in recent years?
Yeah, definitely. Good question. And I could probably use my recruitment agency as a case study, really, because I know how it's transformed us. But going from a role where, again, we're hiring salespeople into recruitment, we used to have to bring in every single candidate, meet them. That was also one of our USPs, right? Coach them up on the different companies that they were going to meet, send them forward to that first round interview, really based on our opinion and a CV. So I feel where recruitment video tech has changed that is the ability to quickly record your candidates and send that as a first round. So especially in recruitment, like, we get paid heaps for essentially introducing people, right? Like when it comes down to it, it's why we all love it. If you're able to provide more value to your clients, and that's kind of doing that first round video interview for them, which is an interview that you're already doing with that candidate, but simply by recording it like you're doing here and send it to that client, you're saving them a lot of time, but you're also saving candidates a lot of time by not going to interviews that they're not going to get the job at anyway, right? Like if a hiring manager watches the first round interview and they're like, cool, great, but they're not the exact right fit for us. If they did that in person, is it going to change? Probably not, right? You're a recruiter. You've asked them good questions. You've led them down the right path to answer it in a way that really sells the candidate in. So you're doing candidates a favor and you're doing your clients more of a service than the recruiter just sending a CV. And what we've found is, well, now we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot. We can't just send a CV, even though I've been doing it for 5 years. Clients will go, "Well, cheers, John. We'll just wait for the video interview." I'm like, "Oh no, I just know that you like this person." But I kind of expect more from you. You provide a better service, and they're just able to get more insight to the candidate than they can off a bit of paper. So I think that's where it's changing. And then obviously when, I won't mention the C word, when the C word popped in, just sticking in rules there, Andrew, is, we did become more of a remote world. As much as we're going back to in-person meetings, there's lots of companies out there that are hiring remotely, or we see job opportunities all the time, even if they're based in Australia. It doesn't really matter where you are based, right? So I think as we continue down that path, video is just going to become more and more prominent, right? Hopefully not as bad as it was a few years ago, where that was our only social interaction, but I think it's become a staple in people's working lives.
We're all striving to build brand, build authenticity. How can a recruitment agency leverage video to showcase their internal brand and their culture to potential candidates that they might be looking to hire, either for their own business or on behalf of a client of theirs?
The cool thing about video is you can use it however you want and where you want it, right? Even if you're using a tool like RecView or a tool like Loom or whatever it happens to be. And what we've done is we just insert video everywhere, right? So even on we run lots of ads on Instagram and TikTok, especially kind of for that younger generation of salespeople getting in there. For those videos, we've had a nice camera, we've had our marketing person edit it up so that it looks good. Even on our Seek ads, we have a video talking about the role. Then when our candidates come through into our CRM, we're kind of going through, and whoever that we feel is a good fit, it's not a highly personalized video, but it's a video that's going, hey, your CV is great, right? If we're sending that email in that sequence, I'd really love to have a chat. Here's a bit more information about the role. And then in our videos, we're able to have a PDF. So on the screen or on their mobile, they can watch the video and see the PDF with information about the role. And what that's really doing is allowing the candidate to get an idea of who you are before they actually meet you. So I call it the real estate psychology, even though I hate real estate agents. But hate's a strong word. We just moved house and it was a pain. But before you kind of meet them, you've got a bit of an understanding of who they are. You might have seen their photo on their email. So especially in the day and age where people are used to everyone having a bit of a personal brand, you can create your micro personal brands with that candidate, right? If they're receiving an automatic response for a job that says, hey, book in a time or whatever it happens to be, we'd love to interview you, and they don't know who you are, they can't see your face, you're just kind of a blind person behind an email. Yes, they're going to come back, but if you can use that opportunity, that space, to put in your personality, to put a little video, so that by the time you get onto the phone, they already feel familiar with you. So that's kind of the secret sauce, I think, to video, is these quick little videos that give people access to you and your personality and allow them to kind of meet you before they've met you.
Cool. So you kind of touched on this already as well, Jono, but in what ways has video interviewing streamlined the candidate screening process for recruiters and hiring managers, do you reckon?
Quite a few, and I think it's going to change a lot in the coming future, right? So a lot of people have always tried kind of those like solo interviews for the screening. We're building it into our app because a few clients have requested it. We don't love it. What we find is good candidates don't complete it, right? Because they've got lots of opportunities out there, and people ask or answer questions in the way that you didn't ask the question, right? Or the question was intended. So that part, I think, will kind of, I'm not sure if it'll ever catch on, apart from kind of that volume recruitment. Where I think video will help with the screening of candidates is, one, again, around those remote jobs, but two, just making them accessible to the clients, right? Because again, coming back to saving everyone a lot of time, where I think it will go and kind of what we're integrating in the back end of our app, and what I'm sure every single person with the video interviewing app will do, is we're transcribing it, right? So exactly kind of, I'm sure Riverside did the same. And what we're doing with our Job Adder and Bullhorn integrations is transcribing your candidate calls, right? So even if it's not video to record and actually submit to the client, transcribing that conversation to then push back as searchable notes in your CRM. And I think that's the next big thing, right? We've been experimenting it with starting recruitment, with kind of my very bogan nasally voice. So trying to get the transcription correct there. But I think that's what's going to be game changing in the future for recruiters. It's right, because even when you're on video, not needing to tap away, not needing to make notes, not trying to rely on your memory, but actually having that transcription push back into your CRM, I feel that's kind of where video will go. So I think what we're going to see in the coming months, because everything's moving that quickly at the moment, is video that isn't necessarily to be recorded, but just helps you take notes, right? So my whole thing, and Andrew and I have discussed this at length, is like I just view AI as like a little assistant that helps you with that. My admin is shocking, like a lot of recruiters out there. So being able to summarize and push those notes back from the conversation that you've just had, and then use that to actually, if it's with a client, write a job description rather than jumping on ChatGPT that just is writing the job description based on every generic job description that's ever been on the internet, basing it purely on the conversation that you've had with that hiring manager. The content that you're going to produce is going to be much better. So I think that's kind of where video will start to play a more important part in the recruitment process. And obviously I do think that, sending candidate interviews works really well for recruitment, but not everyone's going to do that. It's not going to change everyone's process. But I think the transcription and using AI for that will just become stock standard for recruitment, because it's so easy and your consultants don't need to do anything.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So who would have predicted, everything's turning into video, so, no more need for notes and writing, we'll just do everything on video, and now we're using the video to go back to the notes again. Kind of
well, the thing is, right, you always need the information, and that's why all recruiter is like good data, and by being able to have that data for, when the consultant who spoke to that candidate a year ago has left or probably doesn't remember, by having an actual transcription of the conversation and then a summary of that, you're not kind of relying on memory or people staying in the business, especially around kind of client calls. You're able to just summarize it better, right? And they're the things that AI can do better than humans, right? Like we can do a lot that's better than AI, but note-taking and transcriptions, it's going to be much better than us trying to tap away when we're on that call. And then again, it just allows us to have that human connection and actual conversation where you're fully present, compared to, just let me jot that down, and it's kind of a bit stagnant.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people are taking up, I know my guys, the people that I coach, a lot of them are starting to do that as well, and just finding it super helpful.
Yeah, great for like things like training as well. And a lot of these tools have existed for the SaaS sales space for so long for, two reasons, right? If you've got a tech product, you love tech, so you're probably going to buy it. Like I buy every single bit of recruitment tech that I can get my hands on, right? It's not a good business decision, but I love it. And then secondly, their sales process is very, very defined, right? It's like SDR, get someone on board, get the AE to do it, so you can kind of map it out, whereas recruitment, as we know, is so much more intricate and complex, and it changes, and you might speak to someone now who's a client in 6 months. It's not like a clear cycle. So I think a lot of these things are just coming from that space. And then when a hiring manager can go, hey, cool, you've just done this video interview with a candidate, it's their first week in recruitment, based on how we like our interviews to be, you scored 80%. It said that, mine would come back all the time, you spoke way too much compared to the prospect, right? So it's those little things where you'll be able to have AI using, and based on the video, and it's not the video itself, but it's what's going on in the background, to help train and help people improve and help take notes and just allow them to focus and get better, which, Belinda, that's kind of what every recruitment agency and recruiter wants to do, right? So if you've got, based on, the $1 million business biller in your business, you can base your calls on kind of how they do. People are just going to naturally improve a lot faster.
Love that.
It's so interesting. I was just thinking, I think you mentioned a little bit of this earlier in the session around branding. I think we are as a being so visually driven that We've relied on, PDFs, we've relied on our website, etc. But it's almost that sort of two-dimensional stuff with recruitment branding. And how do you see it driving, agencies into a higher echelon in terms of their authenticity and branding to showcase their employer brand, let's call it, and maybe some of the culture around how they operate, both for candidates but also their potential clients as well?
It's so funny that you asked that. I had a client and we've just kind of stolen what he said the other day, but they were really keen to use video, and he's like, look, we're just going to put this product down to marketing spend instead of recruitment tech, right? So that you could get it over the line, because a lot of kind of what you're doing in BD messaging is marketing, right? Unless they're kind of converting straight away. And I feel by still using PDFs and websites, that's never kind of going to go away, but just adding your opinion on top of that. So we send our EVP or our kind of capability statement out to clients all the time in a PDF. On ours, it's just got a little video next to it where we're explaining it, right? Yes. So it's just, it means that people don't, and this sounds so bad, it means that people don't need to read, right? They can just sit there, click play, they're listening, you've got their attention for 30 to 60 seconds. You're able to fill in a lot more in terms of a video in 30 to 60 seconds than you are in a long email, right? Like when I get a long email, I don't read it straight away. It's kind of goes to the folder, and I do it like that. And even like when we're using AI tools like Lavender and stuff that I've spoken about, their techniques for like writing small sales emails are now and this 1 or 2 lines, right, with a quick call to action. So
mark it up as tilde. Too long, didn't read. Your 50-word summary of the long thing underneath if you really want to read the detail, right?
Exactly right. So by we send these little videos out in email. It pops up with a GIF with our brand, our logo on it, so that people can actually go, oh, that's a little bit interesting. And it's just going to recruitment tech. I think just follows society as a whole. Like it just follows the trends that we're used to. And right now, that's how people consume content. Video calls are how people engage. So that happens. It's just taking from what we normally do in the real world and bringing it right. Like people use voice notes to communicate with their friends. Now you can send voice notes on LinkedIn, right? So it's exactly the same. People are used to sending videos of themselves now. Now we just bring it in a work environment, and you find that, all of these trends always take 2 or 3 years to catch on in the world. Like if you tried to sell Zoom to recruiters before COVID, everyone's like, no, we're not doing it now. It's like everyone's got Zoom licenses. So it's just one of those things that's kind of, inevitable.
Yeah. So with all of that, and I think one thing that we can often lose sight on, especially when we get excited about shiny new things, but what metrics or indicators do you suggest that recruiters pay special attention to when they're assessing the effectiveness of video in their overall recruitment process?
Easy. So 2 things. One for the BD, because this is all clients ask us, right? So it's on the business development side, how many more meetings are you booking, right? It's super easy, and it's a metric or a KPI that every recruitment agency, even if they don't have KPIs, track, right? So especially with lots of products, ours included, quick call to action, booking page, booked, goes into your calendar, right? If you're seeing an increase based on your videos, then you know that it's working, right? And then on the flip side, on the candidate side, it's one of the few metrics that we measure at my agency. It's first round client interviews booked.
Okay.
Right? So by sending candidate interviews, our clients can then click request interview in the platform, right? And other products are the same. I'm trying to be unbiased here. But then am I getting more interview requests for the candidates that I'm sending, right? So that's probably a harder one to manage because, you might get that interview request anyway with a CV. So I'm never going to say that it's, oh, you only got that interview request because you use video. But with the BD tool and functionality, you might have booked that meeting as well. But it's just showing that is a way to kind of book more meetings. And what we've found...
and I guess people can always test that, test the CV versus the video. But and with all the people that I speak to, that are running their agencies, that have said that's what they're doing, they've noticed sharp increases in engagement with clients.
There's so many numbers out there, and we're trying to get the same. But you got to take them all with a pinch of salt because you compare in, hey, I'm sending these video messages on LinkedIn. No one can actually get the data of your LinkedIn, what your messages were doing beforehand, right?
No.
So like, you say like, oh, it opened 77%. It's like, what you really need to do as an agency owner or a recruiter is test it, right?
100%.
You say that, and it's how then your clientele engage with it. Because, for example, right, and stop me if I'm just chewing your ears off here, but for the tech market, right, a lot of them won't jump on an interview recording because it's just not for them, like especially senior devs. But they really like receiving the LinkedIn message about a role because they're not the most social bunch, right? They don't necessarily want to get a call from a 22-year-old recruiter in his blue suit down at Ryan's Bar, right? But they want to know information about the role, the salary. They want to have the job description. So if you just record that and send it to them, it's actually less invasive for them. It's probably how they prefer to be communicated. So one thing we say to everyone is like, video should just be looked at as your messaging, right? How a labour hire recruiter messages people is going to be different to an exec search looking for a CEO, right? So you need to go, how did my audience like to be messaged? What's my current messaging style? And just incorporate that into video.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Tech Savvy Recruiter. If you'd like to stay up to date with the latest recruitment trends and insights, make sure that you remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And also, if you'd like to speak to Andrew about turning your tech stack into your secret weapon, or myself around creating an agency that delivers you more money, more meaning, and more freedom, we'd absolutely love to chat. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your support. We look forward to seeing you next time.